Oh, what did I do wrong? Hey everyone, it's Tony from the Outboard Workshops. Today we're in the garage workshop. Today I built this. It's a cart for the drill press. It's got some drawers in there for storage. I've got a scissors jack here to move the table up and down because my drill press is so old it doesn't have one of those crank ones. So if that sounds like an interesting to you, keep watching. Well, I saved you the monotony of watching me cut plywood on a table saw like every other YouTube channel does. And here's the main box pretty much built. I didn't quite have enough of this back half-inch plywood for the back, so there's a bit of a gap. So here I put in a dado to put the shelf in. It gives it a bit more rigidity and a bit more glue space being able to glue on there. A lot of people for shop furniture won't do that, and that's fine, but I like what this provides here. And considering I'm going to be putting a jack on this to jack the table up and down, I want to make sure it stayed together. So once I have that dado, I can drill through this side and mark the holes on the other side, then come back with a countersink bit so I could drive my screws in and keep them below the surface of the wood. Now, I didn't do any dadoing on the top piece up here because I wanted a full 3/4 inch to sit on these sides for when I put the jack on there and the jack is pushing up on the table. I want this to be as strong as possible. So I put a rabbet all the way around the back here. That gives me a place to register my back panels and keep everything nice and square. Now normally I would use one full piece or two pieces that met in the middle, but I didn't want to cut up a whole nother sheet of plywood just for this. So this gap will be just fine. It'll stay as rigid as it would be with just one piece in there as well. Now a major design decision here was to make this enough where you can fit this over the base of the drill press. These are going to have the wheels in kind of this configuration here. And then I wanted to leave enough room for the wheels of the base, the drill press base, to move in and out here. These are going to be mounted on the outside here with what we call outboard wheels. So we'll make those next. So the idea here is to kind of mount it so that the wheels are out here and that when they spin all the way around they don't hit the back in here. So that's about right where we want to be. Top here like that. And that's round, and we can't have that. We got to raise it up. So we got to bring this down an inch. So that gives us an inch of clearance in the bottom for any cords or hoses or anything like that, or just general, stuff around the drill press. So I'm just going to make that 5 inches on this ruler up from the ground. So I can mark that on all corners now. So I've got my mark here, and I measured up 1 21/32 up to here. Now to set this up, I made this little template from my hand router here. And with this bit here over to here is 1 21/32. And I'll be able to put a 1/2 inch thick dado right in here. And I've got it squared, the clamp squared up, the straight edge squared up here. So then I'm also going to use this piece to mark my end here. I'm set at 1/4 inch depth. I messed up. I'm going to mark it here. Then I can do the same on this side. So now I can measure to the other side of the bit, and that is 2 5/32. There we go. Now I just got to square that up. I already drilled my holes for the wheels to go on, and this will go in here. Then I've cut these angle blocks here so that it gives me a nice 90-degree part for here and nice support on top. I may be wondering why I'm not routing a channel on these sides. It's because when the wheels are here, this is going to want to lift up. So this is just going to keep it down. We're in compression here. We just need this to stay in place. We're not too worried about it moving side to side of the square. However, this gives us a nice place to locate our drill holes. Now I can just go on the back side and countersink. So now we can mark out where we want our braces to be at. Now here's the bottom shelf right in here, so I got to avoid that. I can go underneath here. Now I've got a 1/2 inch back plate here and a screw there. So this one I'm going to kind of go in like that. Getting ready to do our glue up. We're going to glue on the back up here. The front is where the wheels go. I do have a bit of a concern that with the wheels on here, this part's going to kind of flip out on both sides. So it'll flip out over there, and this side will flip this way as the wheels pull up on there. But I think with this stabilizing shelf here and the fact that I've got a screw on top and on bottom, it's not going to allow this to flex at all. So it should be pretty good. But I may be adding in another piece like that and screw it in here just to keep everything, at least in the front, together. Alright, so we got the last wheel to go on here. You want to make sure you have the wheels on the other side chalked with like a board. Just put it there so the wheels can't roll over it. Put this down here, line the holes up, get nice and lined up with the edge here. Got a bolt with a washer on it. I'm going to come from the bottom because if I go from the top like that, these could interfere with the way that the wheel turns down here. So instead, I'll come up from the bottom. Put another washer and the nut. Just tighten it up just a little bit. Alright, there we go. Oh, what did I do wrong? Oh, I didn't take that into account. No. When measuring, I didn't take into account this raised part here. So that's what it's hitting right now. So I cut these little spacers from some 1/2 inch plywood here. They fit right on top and the holes line up with the holes in the casters. And they go in between what was there before and the caster. So I've got this little bit of a riser here to get me over that little bit of a piece that was sticking up there. I also had to get longer bolts. Yes! It fits. Alright, now let's talk about some drawers. This is going to be the big drawer that goes on the bottom. It's going to hold a bunch of my drills and such like that. I know I need 24 inches from side to side between the drawer slides. So right now I've got the sides kind of flush up against the front here. You can see the end grain of the plywood here and here. And we'll get to why I did that in a little bit. But right now I need to cut this, so I've got a full 24 inches across here. And this is right about 25, so I got to take an inch off of my front and back. Now, like all my shop furniture, I'm going to have a drawer front that goes on front of this. So you're never going to see this, and then from the side, you won't see any end grain from that side either. I'm also going to use pocket hole screws. I find these work very well with shop furniture, and I'll show you just how to do it. Now, I know the internet hates pocket holes in general, but I find they work well for a lot of cases. In this case, shop drawers, and possibly even some other drawers that have drawer fronts on them where you won't be seeing the front and the back too often. This is the front of my drawer right now. The inside, the back part here is the nice part that you'll see, because when you open the drawer, that's going to be what you see. There's going to be a drawer front on here that you won't see. So it's going to cover up all these pocket holes. The wood, put it right behind this screw here, and use a clamp to clamp that nice and tight. So that way, this doesn't push back while I'm drilling in. I'm screwing that screw in. I got 1-inch coarse thread here, because these are 1/2-inch plywood here. Reach behind here and push out to get this part nice and flush here. So here's the drawer all put together. Normally I would just cut a piece of 1/2-inch plywood to the size of this and put it in there, and then I would use the screws, the pocket screws, but I put them on the bottom side so you wouldn't see them from the top. But I don't have enough plywood in order to be able to do that. So instead I did that, kind of a framework there. I've got this 1/4-inch piece of plywood here that can fit right in here. And that now becomes the bottom of my drawer. And that's going to be plenty strong enough to hold the drills and other tools that are going to go in this drawer. Alright, so here we are at the cabinet. Here's the bottom of the cabinet, the bottom 2 drawer slides. I've got some pieces of the cut off 1/2-inch plywood here. In this corner, over in that corner, and in the back here. I'm going to use, and I've already pulled out the drawer slides a little bit so they move out nice and freely. I'm going to take the drawer and put it in there. I want to keep the slides out as much as possible. I want to be able to get to the holes on the side. Use just something flat. Make sure I've got the slide flush with the front of this drawer. And I could just drive the screw in. Remember, I've got the plywood still down underneath here. If I slide it out, make sure those stay where they belong. That's going to keep me nice and parallel to the bottom down here. The drawer's out. There we go. First time's always a little rough. Now I can measure for my next drawer. It's probably going to be somewhere around in here. Then my last drawer will be a thinner drawer up at the top. So I've cut out all the drawer fronts and I've got them set up here with pennies separating them, so I've got a nice even spacing between everything. Now I need to attach them to the actual drawers. As long as I'm using handles that attach from behind, from the inside of the drawer, I could do this without any double-sided tape or any of that other malarkey. It's actually pretty easy. So this is the back side of the drawer front. The good side is over here, and here's the back side. Here's the pole that I'm going to use. The drawer pulls. It's got the center point of the drawer pull, both horizontally and vertically. It's also got the points where I want the screws to go through. I've transferred these center lines down to the bottom on all 3 sides here. And that will allow me now, using those lines down here, to line up top and the side. I now know right where to drill those holes. I've got written on here that the pilot should be 5/64 of an inch. So now I need to drill some pilot holes on the back of the drawer pull here. And I've got it set up. Obviously, if you've bought store-bought drawer pulls, you won't have to worry about this, but this is for homemade ones. I just line it up with that line here and line up the top. Make sure everything's flush. Put my thumb in between the 2 holes and just use that thin, that pilot bit, that was it, the 5/64 bit. Now I've got 2 pilot holes. Right now, so I have my 2 pennies down here, just like I had it before. Set the drawer front on the pennies and line this up exactly how I want it. Works out easy for me because I want them perfectly flush with the sides. Now I can take 2 small screws and put them right in the holes that I drilled. Now I can grab the drawer front and pull the drawer out. Now I can drive in screws from behind to hold the drawer front in place. Now I can take these screws out and drill my hole all the way through. Then we can use those pilot holes and line them up on the parts that are sticking out here. I've got a nice drawer front with a pole. I want to say something like put sanding up on here or something. You're going to use a lot of shellac on the first coat. The wood's just going to soak it up like crazy. Your layers here. As you can see, there's a bit of a sheen that happens after the second coat. This is when I like to sand. Just do some light hand sanding with a high grit sandpaper. Sanding doesn't really help the next coat stick to the last coat, since that'll pretty much burn in with the alcohol base. It just helps things feel smoother. And finally add a third coat and another light sanding, and we're done. Alright, here we are underneath the table on top of the cart I just built. We've got the jack put in here. It's not connected to anything at the bottom right now. I just want to see if it works. And it's working. I just need to figure out how to secure it because it still wiggles around a lot. So my only concern is that this support here I want to kind of keep in here. But whenever I move the cart itself around, and put it back in, I can't guarantee that I'm going to be able to line it up. So this particular jack has a break here, and I don't know if it's a collar or whatever you want to call this here. But I can actually put a piece of wood through here and screw it into here and clamp this down with that piece of wood. Now it's locked in place, but I've got some movement now where I just have to loosen up the screws and I can move them around a bit to line it up the way I need it to. Now I've been using this for a couple weeks, and you can see I've got stuff all over the top of it, but I've got everything fitted out nicely where I've got all my drill bits kind of in here. Next one down, I've got some of my bigger drill bits, other things that I use with the drill press, some hole saws and stuff like that. Then in the bottom drawer I've got some hand drills, powered and hand powered. Other stuff here, Drill Doctor and Craig pocket hole drills stuff. So that's my drill press cart. If you like this video, give me a thumbs up and think about hitting subscribe below so you can see more content like this when it comes out. As always, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.